Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, very glad to have you with us on this Wednesday morning, August the 28th, 2024. And this month we're going to be in the Gospel of Mark, and this week we're in Mark chapter 7, verses 1 through 24. Our lectionary does skip around a bit, though I might reference some of the verses that it does not engage with. So the verses I'm going to have us focus on this morning are, let's see, I believe I had selected verses starting with verse 5, so 5 through 8. You'll recall that the chapter begins with a gathering of Pharisees and some scribes from Jerusalem, and they're gathered around Jesus and basically looking for a way to entrap him or to make him look bad. And they find something to do that. So let's pick up with verse 5 in Mark chapter 7. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not live according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands?" He said to them, "Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandment of God and hold to human tradition.'" Well, we're going to find in this passage throughout Mark 7 that Jesus is quite direct in his criticism of certain practices of a particular segment of the Jewish tradition. And that has to do with a couple of things. One is putting lower rules and regulations, making lower rules and regulations more important than commandments from God, such as the laws of the Ten Commandments. But also it has to do with the emphasis that Jesus is going to put on the heart, the human heart, that is the reflection of the mind and the passions is what is meant by the heart. And he's going to emphasize that it's in that relationship with the law that an individual and a community ought to live. So it's very important to recognize that Jesus is not abandoning either the law or even tradition, rules and regulations. What he's trying to teach is to put them in their proper place. And so this particular practice of living according to the rules and regulations of washing cups, pots, and bronze kettles, this is something that the Jewish people have made a part of their identity. So it's really important, just like all of us have traditions that are important. But Jesus wants us to understand that these rules and regulations are not more important than the commandments. And then the commandments are governed by our love for one another, as he summarized the greatest of the commandments is love for God and love for one's neighbor. So the passage here that he appeals to is actually from Isaiah. This is so he's quoting the prophet here. In the next few verses that we'll look at tomorrow, he quotes from the commandments. But here he's quoting from Isaiah, And the Jewish people certainly would have understood that the written word of Isaiah would take precedent over these rules and regulations, or they ought to have understood that. And this is simply what Jesus is doing, emphasizing that following rules is not the way in which people honor God, but rather by having hearts that use these rules, these traditions as tools in their proper place. As Jesus said in another place, the man was not created for the Sabbath, but Sabbath was created for the human being. That is, the Sabbath is a commandment that is created out of love from God to human beings, and it should be recognized in this way. So, very central teaching from Jesus concerning the relationship of rules, tradition, the commandments, and then the role of those commandments in relationship to God and one another. Let's close with this word of prayer. This is from St. Patrick from several hundred years ago, and in fact this was engraved on St. Patrick's breastplate. So this is from St. Patrick's breastplate. Christ be with me, Christ within me, Christ behind me, Christ before me, Christ beside me, Christ to win me, Christ to comfort and restore me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ in quiet, Christ in danger, Christ in hearts of all that love me, Christ in mouth of friend and stranger. Amen. Thank you for joining us this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.